Even the most experienced gardener will lose a houseplant or two. And there are 5 habits that have this happening way too often. We're going to take a look at those today and how to fix them. And if this is your first time here, my name is Marlene. Welcome to my home and garden channel. So, the first one, believe it or not, is overwatering. Yes, too much of a good thing can be bad. And let's take a look at some of the symptoms of a plant that's being overwatered. So if you look here, you'll see that like the older leaf, it has that yellowing on there and they are drooping. And of course, the soil will be wet because the soil is basically wet all the time. You'll see that you're losing leaves. You'll have leaf drop, as it's called, and they drop in unusual ways, not the way you'd expect an older leaf to fall off. As a comparison though, this is a pothos right here, and this one you can see it does have a yellow leaf, but if you look, the leaves are perky, so this is a normal aging of a leaf on your plant. There's actually more than one type in there. So this philodendron right here, it's in a little bit of distress, so we have to allow it to dry out a little bit between waterings. Over here, this is a chrysanthemum, not looking too bad, but this is actually being overwatered. And the reason why it's happening too is because of the sleeve that is here. And we'll talk a little bit more about sleeves in just a few minutes. But take a look at the one at the left right here. This one, the soil is wet and the leaves are drooping. So again, this plant is in distress. And the concern, of course, is always root rot, which is going to kill your plant. So regarding the leaves now, guys, this is a poinsettia that I have right here just to show you. When you water them, you'll see that there's water collecting in the bottom, in the sleeve. And it's kind of hard to tell because the way the sleeve is shaped, you can't really see what's going on inside there. So if you're not going to be able to be very vigilant with it, I'd say use saucers, like in this case here, so that way you can see more of what is going on with your plant. So basically, we just go in and, clear out what's in there. And then you go ahead and you pour the water out. So if you're able to be vigilant with it, then you can always keep your sleeves, because they do make the plants look beautiful and I like them, but there's just that cautionary note whenever you're having plants in these. Bear in mind that a lack of oxygen is what causes root rot, and also if you're seeing little bugs flying around your plant, like little gnats, that might be a sure indicator that your plant is being overwatered. And then over here now, this is a chrysanthemum right here that I'm just watering just to show you. Put it over by the sink and you can go in and then just pour it out like I'm doing here. And that'll basically, take care of it. If it's a little bit that's in there, it's not too much of a hassle, but just don't have them sitting in deep water. Over here now, this is a rubber plant and you can see the brown blotches on there. This is a sign of overwatering in this type of a plant. And this is also coupled with the fact that these need to be repotted. They've gotten very leggy and they're being overwatered. It's trying to force an issue that needs to be corrected and it's not working. When plants are healthy like this one right here, they look so beautiful. They're perky, they're shiny, they're healthy. The leaves are growing in a normal spacing as you would expect. And this is what we look for. There's a beautiful golden pothos by a friend of mine, Miss Carol, and it just looks so wonderful right here. The next one is underwatering, the opposite, and sometimes they may look similar just by glancing at the plant because they're also drooping. This is the plant with kind of protecting itself from not losing excessive water, but it is drying out. It's becoming dehydrated and the soil is normally dry, sometimes even powdery when it's getting to this point. This plant is in distress right here. So a good way to check on your plants to see if they're being watered enough is just to go in and reach in with the soil. And if, like, say, the first, I'd say about a ½ inch or so are dry, that's not too bad because you want them to dry out a little bit between waterings. But if it's going deeper than that it's dry, then you need to water your plant. And you just go in and just pour your water in. And I always say try not to make your water too cold to shock the plant. Of course, you don't want to make it warm. And then you go in and make sure the water is running out from the bottom. You have a clear flow out. And so like these beautiful pots right here, these are wonderful plants that we normally get for our house plants, like cactus and different ones. But the thing is that some of them, they don't have holes in the bottom, so they're not going to drain out. And this again will lead to root rot. So you always want to make sure that they do have holes, and get a saucer, to protect your floors or wherever it's resting on. And at the same time, you also want to move the plug if there's a plug in it. The next thing is when your plants are indoors, since we're talking about watering, it's not a bad idea to give them a little bit of a refresh. If it's cold and you want to do it indoors, you can just put like a plastic bag like this grocery bag I put over it. And then you just go in and you can put it in your bathtub like I did here. And just get your watering can and gently pour the water all over it. And your plant is going to love this because, when they're inside, sometimes you may have dust building up on them. You may have lint on them sometimes, just different things. And everybody wants to feel refreshed, and so do our plants. So just go in and water them generously. Allow them to drip off, or you can shake it off a little bit and you should be fine there. The next one is not having proper lighting. This is my hydroponics growing system that the company had sent over for me to do a review on, and I had a previous video on that. And lighting is very important for your plants. And like the orchid right there, it is benefiting so well from being right next to it. You can see how wonderful it looks. You can see that there's another flower bud coming out, and I have not lost any buds. And this plant I've had it for 6 weeks. None of the flowers have faded in all that time. It just loves it. And here are some ones that you can get on Amazon. I will link them in the description box below. That's below the title line where it says more if you ever wanted to purchase any of these. And since we're talking about orchids, this is not a beautiful one that my sons gave to me. Just to say that, they get dappled sunlight in nature because they are epiphytes that grow on other plants. But typically when they're inside of your house, to get them to bloom again, most times they bloom better when they're at a south-facing window. But make sure that you don't have the sun beaming directly on them because they will get sunburned. And they can look like this. This is what happened to one of my orchids. It was at a spot where the sun was beaming into the glass on it. And the spots came in on it like that. So I had to switch it to another location. And in 2 weeks, guys, this is how it was looking. Beautiful. All nice and shiny and healthy. You can see the roots coming out there. So you know that this plant is happy and it is doing well and it's so shiny. And if you wanted to see how I get these plants shiny with a common household product, I'll link that previous video at the end so you can see how to do it. And also, for lighting, you can just put them near to, if you have a door that has a little, light coming in, like this one right here is doing quite well with the light that comes in from there. And that's sufficient for that plant. And there are some plants like the snake plant here that they don't need like a lot of bright light. So options like these are good to get in the event that, there are lighting issues that you're not able to fix. Now let's take a look. Say you have plants that are growing outdoors and the weather is getting cold and you wanted to bring them in, like this pineapple plant that we had. We brought it in and it was kind of large, so we didn't have a convenient space for it at the time. So it got into a dim corner, and I'm telling you guys, in the space of 3 days, it changed from green to gray green. I thought it was gonna die. And then we found a little spot for it by some light, and in the space of about 3 more days, it came back to life and was looking so gorgeous. So lighting is so important, guys. So always check out the light needs of your plants. And just to say that, if you love gardening, you love the topics that I discuss, you want to see future ones and the tips that we'll take a look at, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap on the notification bell twice so you never miss an upload. Now, the next thing is bringing home diseased plants. And sometimes you may get these on clearance. But this right here, you can see all of these spots on here. These spots are not because the plant is dehydrated or because the plant is being overwatered. It just has a disease. And when they're like this, especially if you're a beginner, especially just leave them at the nursery or the garden center and just try to get some fresher ones. It's not worth the effort of spending all of that money and then it doesn't work out for you. See how the flower stalk is looking right there? It's just not healthy at all. And I tried with this one and it did not work. We still lost it. This one, on the other hand, it also, was diseased, but this one survived. I was able to bring it back. And you can take a look at the leaves. You'll see it sometimes like crimpling on there, dimpling. You may see fuzz on it that's not normal for the plant. Just different things on the leaves will tell you. And sometimes on the flowers too, like you saw earlier, that something is wrong with this plant and it's best to just leave them, and save yourself the heartache, especially if you're a beginner. If you've been doing it for a while and you may be able to bring it back, which I did, and you'll see the repotting of this in a future video. The next one now is getting high maintenance plants. They're very beautiful inside the garden center or the nursery, and you figure, oh, it's so gorgeous, I want to take it home with me. But some of them, like this one right here, they are high maintenance and they take a lot of care and attention. And if you don't have the time, this is another one here as well too. And I'll have a future video where we talk about high maintenance plants that you should avoid if you are a beginner. But if you're really good at plants and you have a lot of time and attention to do lots of research on it, then certainly I would say go for it and do that. This is a prayer plant, by the way. So just to summarize, overwatering, we want to make sure we're not doing that because that causes root rot and it causes your plant to die. The other one is to make sure you're checking into the soil so you're not having the plant dry out and be dehydrated, because they do need, that replenishment. Proper lighting, the best way you can do it, whether it's by a door or window that has some light coming in but not too close to burn the leaves of the plant. And then if you're not able to, get light that way, you can always, get lights that you can buy, for your plants, and it'll help that way. Avoid getting diseased plants because the stress sometimes is a little bit much, and you end up wasting your money even though it may have been at a discount. So be on the lookout for those. And be sure to check out the upcoming video that I have that's going to give you some information regarding these. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope this was very helpful to you. Leave me a comment, and I do hope to see you in the next video. Take care.